Yo, what up traders? Welcome to a new weekly review video. This week was absolutely so easy to trade. If you have not caught any winning trades on EU or GU this week, make sure to check out this entire video. I will show you again the power of my model, how to order pair correctly, and when to predict the high of the day. So let's go into the charts. All right, let's start up with Euro USD. I will make sure to put a screenshot up there so you can see my executions, and we're going to go through them when I break down price action over here, right? So first of all, as always, you want to go to the daily and the weekly, right? What is the most likely thing to happen on the higher time frame? Now, if we look at Euro USD over here, right? This is Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday. Now we have to look what happened prior here, right? So we saw this run on these highs, and then we had this closure here. And then on Friday, we also had a bearish close. But now I want to take your attention to, if you remember the last video about relative strength, and we look at GBP USD, which ran all the highs up here, right? So it purged a lot of liquidity. And then we had Thursday and Friday's closure. Now we had this effigy on a daily time frame, right? On GBP USD. This means we're still respecting, at this point in time, we're still respecting bullish order flow. But as I taught you guys, right, you want to always use opposing arrays and look for a setup once that array gets broken. So we have the daily FG here, and once it closes below, you can actually look for a PD array or a key level in premium, obviously, if you want to short. So we had Monday closure. We wait for Monday to pass because we needed that information, and then we start looking for trade setups on Tuesday. So let's go to the 4 hour, and this blue box over here, right, that's the daily IFG. So once we have the daily IFG, first of all, this is important, you want to have a strong high so you can draw out the correct dealing range. And what makes a strong high, right? Comment down below, I will spoil it in a second, but it's SMT, of course. If you didn't know, make sure to comment that you learned something, but you always want to have SMT. We saw that on these highs up here, right? We ran the highs here on GBP USD, but Euro USD did not do that. So we displaced lower, and now we have an actual trading range. Now notice how this effigy here is in discount for most of the fair value gap. But if you guys have a good eye, you can spot another IFG, and look at that. The exact pip, it hits that IFG. And remember a couple of videos ago, right, where I broke down a 25K or even a 16K I made, I explained that those IFGs are really, really good to determine a high or low of the day. And this displays once again that this is a very powerful concept, and I want you guys to use that when you're trading ICT concepts, right? So let's go to the 1 hour. Makes it a little bit more obvious. So we have this nice range, right? So we know this high should not get violated because we're in bearish order flow. We have a protected high. Now the second thing we want to do is use order pairing, right? Where is the order pairing happening? We do have one over here, right? So when we mark up this high here, we actually have the order pairing high because we want to run the low afterwards, right? So it's always a smaller range within a bigger range. Now this one is in discount, so I even mentioned to the guys in the group that this 1 hour fair value gap is not good for order pairing because it's in discount. I might drop the link of the market outlook I posted on Monday in the description, so you guys can watch that. It will be a hidden link. I don't want to put it on a public YouTube, but you can have a look. You can see what I explained over here, and we can see it runs up higher, and then I basically executed on the 15 minutes. I just waited for a rejection to form from that IFG, right? Now the beautiful thing here is we also have SMT on these highs here with Euro USD. So we form another strong high intraday, and that happens during a London session. So 3 a.m., right? London open. Often in the first 30 minutes to an hour, the high of the session gets formed. So be patient. You don't have to get in at the first minute of the open. Just like when you're trading indices, you don't have to execute at 9:30, right? So we had a rejection candle, I just executed, and then you can see the absolute massive drop that happens afterwards. I think it's like, yeah, it's almost 80 pips drop. I will show a screenshot up here, and you can see my execution. Then I scaled in as well on the day after, but unfortunately it didn't move that much. And then I closed on Thursday. We had Euro interest rate, so I was kind of hoping GBP USD would move a little bit more, but obviously it didn't. Then Euro USD. And first of all, let me show you guys the Discord, right? I don't do hindsight education. So let's go to the Discord here. And then looking for a range high to low play, hitting the 4-hour key level. And I will show you guys, this is the chart I sent in, right? Look at this, right? This is on Tuesday. And then if I go to the 15, let's go to Tuesday. This is the range play, right? We have the range high, and hopefully it will go back online. But this is the range low, right? And then once we have the smaller range and the bigger range, we just need a key level, right? So if we go to the 4-hour, there we go, I'm back. We have a nice 4-hour fair value gap, right? And typically you want to go from 4-hour to 1-hour order pairing. Let me go here. This is very low in discount of the range. It's still the same type of situation as GBP USD, but I scouted the 15-minute to look for another range, and we had a smaller range formed over here. Now, this is just a perfect example of order pairing, and you want to do it the way I just explained it. There is no other way you should be doing it. This is the right and the correct way. What you can do afterwards, if you missed the initial entry, you can also use a confirmation entry, right? Or you wait for a breaker, you wait for an effigy to form, right? All the kind of good stuff. You can implement that yourself as long as you use the order pairing concept, which is very powerful in the end. Then let's go to Wednesday, right? Nothing much happened. I think I scaled in on a Wednesday as well, but it was based on the partial, the closure I did, and then I did half risk, and I don't put it on this high, right? Because it's not a strong high. There's no SMT there, but I put it on this high, and you can see this high stayed intact, right? So even though we did run above this high again, the price respects that loss range we're using here. And that's actually really good information to have when you're trading, because you always know where to put your stop loss, right? I often see traders do a bad stop loss all the time, even though they're analyzing the chart correctly. They just pick the wrong ranges. I also have a dealing range guide on YouTube if you want to watch that. Just type in dealing ranges on my YouTube channel, of course. Then let's go back over here, right? Tag the exact high, and we should see a New York session continuation. And then here, perfect call, right? We just run below the lows. Then on Thursday, after interest rates, I called another one, right? We have this displacement from interest rates on Thursday and Friday. I wanted to see a continuation lower, so we should tag premium. You don't want to trade in discount. We're not looking for anything here. So you be patient. Then you can see price ran back into premium. I still didn't really trust it because the other assets did not go to premium. GU was not in premium, right? And we didn't form an IFG either, so I couldn't really work with that. And then over here, I told everybody the high of the day is set. Now, if we go back to the chart, price was very lackluster on Friday. It was kind of expected, but I was kind of feeling that at least this low would get run and a little bit lower below it, but that obviously did not occur. So I just closed in a small profit. I entered once price retraced on this candle a little bit, right? And price did retrace a little bit higher, but all in all, it was just a very slow day. I want to give a little shout out to one of the students, because if we go to the profit section here, look at this guy, right? He's on holidays and he's following my lives and my market outlooks, of course. And look at that, right? I messaged him, wow, this is amazing work, right? He's working on a one-step FTMO challenge. He's almost done with it. He only needs 1 or 2%, and then he's funded for 200K. Absolutely amazing work. All in all, I'm very proud of all the students that are putting in the work. Let's go to DXY, because we want to just focus a little bit here as well, because how do we actually know that DXY is going higher with a higher conviction, right? You want to be confident that it's going higher, but what actually validates this is, in the last video I explained as well how to market profile on DXY, right? On the relative strength. We go to the bonds, right? The bonds, higher time frame. Look at this. What is most likely to happen? Let's go to the daily. It's a little bit more clear, right? We have this sell side liquidity here. Last week, we pumped up back into this effigy, running the highs, right? And then let me go to the 5 and the the 10 and the 30. You can see all run back into that FEG, and then we're aiming for the low. So bearish bonds means higher DXY, right? It's that simple. You want to sync up all these assets to have a higher probability move on the higher time frame. Now, what are you guys thinking? I'm very interested to hear. What are you guys thinking for DXY next week? I mean, it looks very, very obvious, right? But what is your plan? Are you going to wait for Monday to pass, or are you straight up diving in on Monday? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I want to thank you all for joining. If you're not sure how to predict price, or are you not sure how I should be entering trades, right? I teach that in my private Discord. Link is down below. Also, the market outlook I post, I will link it below so you can watch how I explain what price should be doing for the week. But for now, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you have not yet done that, and I will catch you guys next week in another video.